Hey, welcome to the show. We just came right on. Like, who knows? You just never know because it's live, and that's what's great. This is the Linda Cohn Show. Dominic D'Angelo will be with us shortly. First and foremost, just thank you. Thank you to all that who have subscribed. We got like 15,600 and change subscribers as we speak, and I really do appreciate that. I just don't say that. It's just not words for me. You could be watching so many other podcasts and other things on YouTube and Netflix or whatever the heck you do every day of your life, but you are tuning into me, and I love that. And so share it, like it, subscribe, just spread the word because we have fun here. And man, we have a great show today. I know I say that all the time, but have I ever disappointed you? Coming up, a lot of NFL talk, especially why? Because it's the premiere of our weekly segment, Fourth and Dan. That's right. My son Dan will be joining this show each and every week to talk about his hot takes in the NFL. And he does it with a stand-up comic flair that you have to see and hear to believe. and he'll have you laughing. Trust me, he'll have you laughing. But thank you again, guys. And remember to ask Linda fan questions at the very end of the show. Dominic will find the best ones, and you better bring it. You better bring it because I want to hear it, and I want to give you my takes. But first, buckle up. We have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start here, okay? I mean, some sports leagues emotionally react, and we know who they are. Some others use common sense by being proactive. Oh, what a thought. Common sense. The Women's Tennis Association, you might have heard. Well, they are the latter. They just announced it's changed its eligibility rules for the women's tour. What are they doing? They are now requiring a one-time genetic test for all players competing in the women's category. What does that mean? Well, the genetic test looks for the SRY gene. What is the SRY gene? Don't worry, I had to look that up too. The SRY gene is typically found on the Y chromosome and plays a key role in male sex development. The WTA, in doing so, says it made these changes to have a clear, objective eligibility standard for the women's category based on biological sex rather than gender identity or testosterone levels. They got ahead of it. They are proactive. They are not emotionally reactive. Now, this wasn't just sprung on the players on the WTA tour. Many of these players who've been asked about it over the last few days says WTA officials explained to them why they were doing it, educated them on why they were doing it, and they even got to watch a video on what it all means and why the change was necessary, according to the Women's Tennis Association. The first player to speak out on the change of rule regarding genetic testing was perfectly the number one player in the world, Aryna Sabalenka. And she voiced her opinion, and she strongly supports this change. She said Sabalenka, and I want to read it. I wanted to read her words exactly. She says, biological differences can affect competitive fairness. It's obvious that biologically, the men are way stronger than women. So I feel like it would be not really fair for the women to compete against a biological male. Common sense, right? Sure. Then on Wednesday, another player on the WTA tour, Coco Gauff, was asked about the new genetic testing policy change by the WTA. And here's what Coco Gauff had to say. Roll it, Dominic.
As that, I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. I do think that this kind of conversation has created a lot of animosity towards the trans community, which I'm not really a big fan of, but I also understand the need to, I guess, the biological difference and the need to protect that and preserve that. So I think it's a conversation that is very nuanced. And it creates clauses, or I need to have a nuanced answer. So yes, I guess kind of agree with trying to protect the fairness in women's sports, but I also do not like the attack that it is creating people who don't really care, but just want to use this as a reason to attack the trans community. So I'm not really a big fan of that either. So I don't really know how to answer really this question in a way that people aren't going to spin it. But as far as where I stand, I definitely support the trans community, but I also support the need of creating fairness in sport too.
So when I first heard what Coco Gauff had to say and where she stood on this issue, I got to tell you, I didn't think she picked a side. I mean, I don't know what you think. Let me know in the chat box, but it seemed like she was trying to make both sides happy with her reaction and her comments to the media, which remarkably brings me to Caitlin Clark. I'm tying this all together because they all deserve to be tied because they all have a lot in common. Do you think Caitlin Clark has become a political football? You can make that case. She's tossed around to fit narratives depending on which way the wind is blowing on a certain day. Don't you feel that way? Caitlin Clark is 24 years of age. All she wants to do is play basketball. All she wants to do is lead the Indiana Fever to wins, playoffs, and perhaps a championship. Well, this week she discovered yet again, she's damned if she does and she's damned if she doesn't. There's no neutral ground anymore. Have you noticed that? Someone is going to be angry no matter what you say. I mean, as we all know by now, Clark's teammate, Sophie Cunningham, took a public position on transgender participation in women's sports. She's against it. Earlier this week, when Caitlin Clark was asked by reporters, Clark did not publicly support Sophie's stance on the subject. Roll it, Dominic.
I think for us, it's not really a discussion we really have in our locker room. I think it's for leagues and the governing bodies to work with their athletes to find solutions, but our focus is on basketball, and that's what we talk about and how we can get wins, and obviously we didn't do that tonight, so need to find an area to improve in that way.
Do you have any, reaction to the...
I just answered for you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go over to the Zoom. We'll start with...
All right. So Caitlin Clark right there had an opportunity to support her teammate, Sophie Cunningham, but chose that direction. Guess what? Caitlin Clark's allowed to do whatever the heck she wants to do. If that's the way she wanted to answer that question, good for her. It's her right. Now, here's the crazy part, but are we surprised in the country that we live in now and what's going on and how we are just separated? Some fans, sports media creators, commentators with digital platforms who had previously supported Caitlin Clark, calling her a hero, among other things, because they believed she shared their views. Well, guess what? Now they're criticizing her for staying silent, criticizing her for not backing up Sophie Cunningham, her teammate's stance. Some even resorted to name calling, describing Caitlin Clark as cowardly or a coward. Now, here's the crazy part, but not so crazy. At the same time, some commentators who had previously criticized Caitlin Clark did an about-face and argued that she shouldn't be expected to comment and give her opinion on political and cultural issues if she doesn't want to. You know what? Both sides actually have something in common. Both sides have never watched a minute of WNBA basketball. You can bet on that. So has Caitlin Clark become a political football? I say she's become a political punching bag. That's right, a punching bag. And she's tired of getting beaten down and broken down and beaten up by both sides. Let her be. She didn't ask for this. She didn't sign up for this. All she wants to do is play basketball. And you know what? That's okay. But now her teammate, Sophie Cunningham, well, we all know she's a different story. She chose to publicly take a stand. I applauded her for doing that. In fact, most of the country applauded her for doing so. But those who chose not to stand for Sophie or with Sophie, they found another reason to stomp on Sophie. It's what she said this week to this reporter in this interview. Roll it, Dominic.
Much good going on in the WNBA. I think that basketball is being played at the highest level it's ever been. I think our team in specific, we are breaking history right now with the amount of points that we're scoring on back-to-back games. I think the Minnesota game, there's just so much distraction. I think the WNBA media, all we ever do is cover everything except basketball. And it's like, what are we doing? There's so much. Like, you can talk about other things. I think those are great stories. I think it shows fans, who people are outside of the court. But I also think we got to keep the main thing the main thing. And I think when it comes to the Minnesota game, I think there's so much distraction. But, like, the matchup between Miles and Kelsey was phenomenal. Our team, I mean, that game in particular was a great game. And so I think that there's a lot to be said, and I'm going to let people just do the speaking for themselves. But for me, I want to get back to basketball. It's always been about basketball. That interview happened in February when I was asked a question. And so for me, I just want to, make sure that it stays, the focus stays where it should, because people are playing at such a high level. We have probably like 3 MVPs that could be MVPs on our team specifically. And so that's why I want to do that. No, I was asked a question, and that's simply what it was. I just wasn't making a statement to make a statement. And so I was trying to clear the air, and I did that and back in February. And so it is what it is. And like I said, we're in the middle of season. I'm going to keep it that. We talk about a bunch of distraction. Our team is good. My teammates are good. Our locker room is great. And so now we're just here about to prepare for
Yeah, Sophie Cunningham wants to talk basketball. She hasn't been the one bringing the transgender debate up over and over and over again. But if you read and hear what her critics say, you would have thought she has done just that she has brought up this topic over and over and over again. And now, since she just wants to talk and always wanted to just talk basketball, what do you know? She can't win. And the critics are all over her saying, oh, now you want to just talk basketball, huh? The moral of this disappointing real life story is this. We have 2 teammates, one talked, one did not talk. They were both punished. The lesson is simple. No matter what you say or what you don't say, you can never win. You got to be true to yourself. Don't let the reaction and opinion of others ever change that. So let's look big picture now. When you listen to going back to what Coco Gauff and Sophie Cunningham said about transgender athletes in women's sports, let's compare. Weren't they basically saying the same thing? Let me refresh your memory. Sophie all along has said she is not motivated by hatred toward transgender people. Coco said she was against those who want to use this as a reason to attack the trans community. Sophie said biological men or transgender women should not compete in girls' and women's sports because she wants to preserve what she says is fairness in female athletic competition. Coco said, I understand the need to account for the biological difference and the need to protect and preserve female athletic competition. Pretty much the same thing, right? I mean, what do you think? So I have a question. When you look at social media, and I know you have to take it with a grain of salt, I get that. Why was Coco Gauff applauded for her comments, which were described, let me read a few adjectives for you, were described as thoughtful, mature, powerful, while Sophie's comments were described as basically just the opposite. They were judged different. They were judged differently. Double standard, hypocrisy. And why does the media have to know what a professional athlete thinks about a political or cultural issue anyway? If that athlete feels the need or wants to make a point or wants to make a statement or wants to share her view, let her. That's great. That's fantastic. But if they choose not to, why are they badgered consistently? And why are they bullied consistently? That's got to stop. That has just got to stop. I mean, it's just never going to end until common sense takes over. Let me know in the chat box what you think about what I just said and the comparisons I made. Set me straight or agree with me. I just want to hear what you think. All right. Time to talk about the greatest thing in this show right now. The best part of the show is because my son Dan is now a part of it. To the show, Dan, my son, who I'm so proud of. See, I have to be a mom with you. It doesn't matter if we're on the Linda Cohn Show or if you're hanging out with me or if I'm visiting you in Hartford, Connecticut. Dan, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good. I was just excited that you didn't call me Dan Man to start. You know, it's always tough. It's always tough to come back from that. But you know, you're lucky we're related, so I guess it's allowed.
Yeah, for the people, I always call Dan Man. I've been doing that for decades. You're 30 years of age, so I've been doing it for a while, and you're the only person that allows me to do it, so I appreciate that. And it's stuck with you. You know, I have these little pet names. Moms do that with sons. Moms do that with daughters too, and we won't get into Sammy's little pet names that I give her. But this is about you, Dan. Welcome to the show. Now, our viewers, our listeners, now, if you're just listening, you got to see this on YouTube. You got to see what my son Dan, because he gives a striking resemblance at the moment in this time to an NFL quarterback, new to the league. Can you guess who it is? Yes. Dan, do you agree? You look like Fernando Mendoza. There's Fernando. And let's take a look at, there's you, Dan. When was the first time you realized you looked like Fernando, or you look like that guy on the screen that's throwing a football?
No, a lot of men though. So not ideal for future purposes of settling down, but always great to meet a new friend here and there. And I thought it was so funny enough where we talked about this before. One of my college friends made a joke and created an AI image of me and Fernando Mendoza together. And I just had to play around with it, and I put it on my Instagram story and pretending he was my cousin, basically, like, just want to shout out the cuz, go win it all. This was right before, they were facing Miami, and everyone was messaging me. These women I haven't heard from in years just being like, how come you've never told me? I couldn't break it to them that it was AI. I'm like, if you couldn't figure out it's AI, man, like, you're on your own. But it's funny. It's a good kick. There's a lot worse people to get compared to. So
absolutely. He's a winner. He's a champion. So you got
right.
that. But don't be surprised. Again, more and more people will be texting you. I'm sure you can handle it, and DMing you for sure. All right. For the people, what we're going to do now every week, because NFL season is upon us, and I'm so excited. You see, Dan and I, for many, many years, mother, son, we bond about a lot. Dan's grew up a Patriots fan. I, of course, a Giants fan. So we had our moments over the weeks ahead. We will be sharing those stories. But we thought because Dan and I always talk NFL headlines all the time anyway. We text, we talk every Sunday. What do you think about this? What do you think about this quarterback, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I want to bring Dan onto the show. So we thought of, we're going to call it Fourth and Dan. We're really good with the names because, as I forgot to mention, I do like, as we just kind of detour back to Fernando, I might have to call you Fernando.
Oh yeah, I know, that's clever.
Okay, great. I think
it's your podcast. It's your show.
Yeah. Well, I got to give credit. I got to give credit to Dominic because Dom thought of Fernando. So we shout out to Dom there. Yeah. So Fourth and Dan, which is great. I thought of that one, and we're talking NFL quarterbacks in this episode because that's what we love talking about, and it's just a great topic. And anyone who is obsessed with quarterbacks like we are, this works for us. So your first topic, okay, here we go. Fourth and Dan, now or never. Under the headline, which quarterback falls into that category for you and why?
Yeah, this may shock some people, maybe not people who actually know me, but I think what makes things harder for quarterbacks is quarterbacks who rely on their legs. There's one quarterback that relies on their legs more than this guy, but he's already a proven winner in Jalen Hurts. All he does is win. You need him to throw the ball, he can throw the ball. You need him to run the ball, he'll run the ball, he'll win games. The quarterback in the NFL uses their legs the second most, which makes me worry how long his legs are going to last, is Josh Allen. So my now or never quarterback is Josh Allen, because from everything we've watched on tape and from everything Joe Brady has changed this offense around so he's not throwing the ball. The DJ Moore signing made it just look like, okay, you have another guy who's going to be able to catch screens, so Josh Allen won't do anything silly like that playoff game where he did some great things, but he was the main reason they lost that game.
He admitted that.
And he admitted that. No one's taking away how great of a guy Josh Allen is. But what worries me is when the wheels fall off, which, Josh and I are the same age. There might be a little bit difference in the athletic spectrum there, but you have to imagine his legs are going to die in 2, 3, 4 years, maybe max. And I don't think his arm is scaring anyone with the way his accuracy has been.
Do you think he's similar to the Cam Newton trajectory? At least Cam got to a Super Bowl.
Right. At least Cam got to the Super Bowl. I don't want to hate on Josh Allen. Josh Allen is I was, but Josh Allen is light years above Cam Newton. Cam had that great year. I really think that hit TJ Watt had on him really impacted his game. So injuries really derailed his career.
Right.
I think
that's what you were thinking, because Josh depends on his legs so much to get out of trouble. It takes a toll. That's why I mentioned, could he be on that trajectory where if he's not careful, that he might fall into that trap?
Yeah, that's what I think. And from every time we hear every Josh Allen Bills episode of them not, falling short in the playoffs, all we hear is Josh Allen, how injured he was. Oh, he was injured. My first response is, there's only so many times this guy can play on his injuries and it won't backfire on him like it did with Baker Mayfield. And it's going to catch up to you. He looks like he's Superman, but it's a matter of time as he gets older and his body isn't recharging the way it used to because he's in his 30s. It's gonna happen. And again, you only have so many chances. It's a team game. And when push comes to shove and you need Josh Allen to throw the football, I'm not confident. There's 10 people I'd rather have throwing the football before him, at least. Running the ball, again, I can make the case he's the best red zone threat of all time. You can make that case. But that's because he's an athlete. As a quarterback, if you're telling him you need to throw this ball, I think there's a lot of people I take in front of him.
Here's what I think. We'll put a bow on Josh Allen, because I think if he doesn't at least get to a Super Bowl and have an incredible playoff run, last season's playoff was just the tip of the iceberg, where the love fest for Josh Allen wasn't as strong. It was slowly deteriorating after that performance, because the field, as you know, was wide open with no Mahomes, no Burrow, no elite quarterback standing in his way, and he couldn't get it done. So I feel that unless, he's got to get to a Super Bowl. So, knowing you, Dan, we will be keeping an eye on Josh Allen, and so will the rest of the NFL, and so will all the media types, because they still have a love fest with this guy, because he's a likable guy, and we'll see what happens. He does like the new uniforms, though, so
right.
He's got that going for him. Okay, second topic, Dan, on Fourth and Dan. What starting quarterback will struggle this year?
For me, and the reason why I mentioned this name is because of just the hype I hear about this guy.
Yeah.
That he's the new sliced bread. He's the new up-and-coming quarterback. And there's two reasons I think he's going to struggle, and that's Tyler Shuck from the New Orleans Saints. Not only did this guy fail to beat out Spencer Rattler last year, maybe you can put the 2 to 2 together. I'm a Spencer Rattler fan. But this isn't a young guy. I think everyone was impressed with him last year. I certainly wasn't. He had 10 passing touchdowns in 9 games. His rushing numbers weren't that great. So it's not like I'm holding that against him where secretly he had like 8 rushing touchdowns. That was not the case. Again, it goes from help outside of Chris Olave. Who do they really have? As a, I'm not going to call him a young guy because he's not. He's turning 27 in September. He's supposed to be in the prime of his career. Last quarterback that we hyped up of this age was Brandon Weeden. We all know what happened to him. And
Right.
Brandon Weeden had a great response. He was like, I'm already in the prime of my career. Well, you may athletically be in your prime, but mentally, it's going to take some time to build that. I just don't think Tyler Shuck's the guy. I think we like the swagger, the moxie that
Yep.
some of these people have. I feel he's got a kind of a Taysom Hill moxie. I love Taysom Hill. But I don't think Tyler Shuck's going to do well. If Spencer Rattler's still on this roster, knowing how much they love Spence, you might see Spence back in that lineup.
That would be shocking, Dan, because
yeah.
remember, last year Shuck came in 5-4 as a starter. The people that love him, the people that have been hyping him up, best thing since sliced bread, they say, oh, all that college experience has helped him because he has a calm demeanor. He never panics, nothing like that. They love his arm strength. They love his ball security. But you can make a case, and I know you're going to, that ball security is probably a little bit too conservative because he doesn't take chances. He doesn't get the ball downfield enough. There's a lack of explosive plays. And every quarterback, you could be calm, but you also need to be confident to attempt those plays.
Right. I think as a rookie, your expectations are kind of low, right? We saw him come in. Maybe he didn't have, all the reps competing with Spencer Rattler. And we saw what he could do. And, we were kind of impressed. But you can perform like that in your rookie season. If he plays like he did his rookie season, he does year 2, he will not finish the season. And that's facts. 10 passing touchdowns in 9 games. You can't. It's not going to work, Gardner Minshew had a 27 touchdown, 7 INT season, something around that numbers. Now it looks like he's going to be 3rd string quarterback in Arizona.
You're thinking Tyler Shuck is probably going to follow the path of Gardner Minshew as opposed to ever being a franchise quarterback.
I think what helps out Tyler Shuck is he's an athlete, but what also hurts him is Gardner Minshew didn't come into this league at 25 3/4. And Shuck's about to be 27. It's again, he's an old dude.
Yeah. You know what? He's only 4 years younger than Josh Allen. Josh Allen actually is 31. So that is kind of remarkable, right? So they're closer than age. All right. Here we go. I'm telling you, this one I like, your 3rd quarterback topic, because no one's talking about him. And if they're talking about him, it's not all positive.
Right.
What starting quarterback will surprise people in your mind?
With me, it's without a doubt, it's going to be Malik Willis. Any Green Bay Packers fan already knows how good this guy is. I understand Miami doesn't have the best weapons outside of Achane. The issue is, again, it seems like the Dolphins are tanking. But you have this quarterback who, in his time in Green Bay, didn't throw an interception.
I don't know if they're tanking. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I don't think so because they signed Malik Willis, Dan. As you know, it's a 3-year, $67.5 million contract, $45 million guaranteed. I think they do believe in him, Dan.
Right, but I've never seen a worse receiving core, in my life. But my point is, I don't think that's going to hurt him. We saw what he was throwing to in Green Bay.
Yeah.
And he had, I think LaFleur really helped him out. He has 2 seasons in Green Bay. I know it's limited time, but it's above 73% completion. He threw around 85% completion, last season. And if you watch the tape, he's making these pinpoint accurate throws that are more accurate than Josh Allen, more accurate than a lot of quarterbacks we've seen. We saw a guy in Tennessee where Titans fans were booing him, and Will Levis had to speak out about it, saying, hey, you're not going to boo our guy, our teammate. So from a guy that needed his teammate to vouch for him, coming from a guy who's a starting quarterback in this league, I think people are going to be shocked. He's an athlete. He can extend plays. That's what it's about. It's extending plays, giving your receivers more time. In this league, defenders aren't really even allowed to cover receivers. But when you have a quarterback who's athletic enough to just extend plays, like, Giants legend Fran Tarkenton, it's gonna happen. And I have complete faith. I'm a Patriots fan, but you watch Malik Willis play, he's making advanced reads. And LaFleur has really helped him out, get his confidence back. I think we're going to see a new and improved upgrade at the Miami quarterback position.
Yeah, the new Dolphin head coach, and you probably, if I would say to the average schmo out there, who's the Dolphins' new head coach, they wouldn't even know his name. And honestly, full disclosure, Dan, I had to look it up. Jeff Hafley. Does that ring a bell? That's the new.
It does ring a bell because people were making jokes about it. That book I used to read, Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The main character's last name is Heffley. I believe it's Heffley, not Hafley. So everyone was
Hafley
like,
is this guy. Yeah.
Everyone was like, it's crazy to see this guy grow up as a joke. But
yes, as a joke. But anyway, Dan, the Coach Hafley, the new coach of the Miami Dolphins, and the offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick, they both say about Malik Willis, and I know you're probably thinking, not you because you're a believer in Malik Willis, but the people out there are like Dolphin fans who are like, I got to see it to believe it, Linda and Dan. The coaching staff is saying the guy is living in the facility. He is like all in. He can't get enough. He's mentoring younger guys on the sideline. He is just showing his leadership ability. But the consensus of a Malik Willis out there, for whatever it's worth, when he signed with Miami, everyone and their grandmother was saying, yeah, he's got some skills. Oh, but he's a high risk gamble. That's all I heard. Oh, he's a gamble, to give him that money, and he's a gamble. You mentioned he extends plays, and the first person I thought of was not Fran Tarkenton from back in the day. What made Patrick Mahomes so great and is great? Extending plays.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, the great ones do it. And then I know you've heard about this, and I wasn't sure if I want to bring it up, but this guy, Mike Sando of The Athletic, he does this like tiers of quarterbacks entering each season. He's done it annually, right? Do you know where? And it's not by him. It's not by, media types voting. He interviews coaches and executives in the NFL to say, where do you put these quarterbacks? What tier? And Malik Willis is tier 4. Let me look. Tier 4. That is like, I think he's ranked 29th overall if you're tier 4. That's not good, according to these guys. So, yeah, 29th overall. But I'll tell you, and you'll love this because you mentioned him at the top, Jalen Hurts. You know where they put Jalen Hurts?
Probably somewhere really
in tier 3, 17th overall. The guy, 2 Super Bowls, he won 1, Super Bowl MVP. He would have been Super Bowl MVP with the other one because he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. And such disrespect. I'm throwing in a bonus topic for you, Fourth and Dan.
I'm excited.
Okay. Is Jalen Hurts the most disrespected and underappreciated starting quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah, I think of all time. Honestly, we've never seen a guy ever who the most common thing people say is, "Oh, if I was in his shoes, if Nathan Peterman was in his shoes, the worst quarterbacks you could ever think of, I'd be successful." And that's just not the case. The guy's a winner. He struggled with bad offensive coordinators in his career,
and he's got a new one this year. He's got to learn a new schemes.
He babysits his head coach, and it's incredible because people were convinced if Josh Allen was on the Philadelphia Eagles, they'd win the Super Bowl every year. And that's when you have to take a deeper look at the situation where I think Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen are the same quarterback, except for one little thing. One's proven, one's a winner, and one I would take every day of the week over the other, and that's Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to take a guy who's not proven. Josh Allen's not proven. He does.
Yeah.
I think we look at Josh Allen and we're like, wow, he does things no one else can do. That's great. You can be as talented as you want, but unfortunately with him, as we talked about, it hasn't translated in winning.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Plus, Jalen Hurts, the icing on the cake, says all the right things at the podium, pre and post game. Okay. That's a talent. And he's doing it in the toughest city to play in a professional sports league. That would be Philadelphia. It's a tough crowd. The media is the worst, tough, worse than New York. New York's probably second, but Philly, and he is just cool as a cucumber. And so all that mixed in, I agree with you, Dan. I think he's maybe not all time, but he's, to me right now, prisoner of the moment. I just got so upset when I saw that he was the 17th overall, these coaches and execs. I mean, if that is an extra inspiration, plus again, the multiple different offensive coordinators he's had, it can take a toll, but he's not allowing it. And he's a very good leader. And hopefully there won't be any distraction. As a Giants fan, I can't believe I'm wishing this, but, success for the Eagles. But what I'm wishing is success for Jalen Hurts. And if that means success for the Eagles, which it probably would result in, then that's what it is. But I like you, Dan, I am a big, big fan of Jalen Hurts. Okay. We are always going to end your segment on something, quirky, something interesting, something NFL related. And, this came up and it went viral. And, love is in the air. And it happened at Chargers training camp. And it happened at a time where family, friends, wives, girlfriends were allowed on the field. Okay. It wasn't during 3-on-3 drills. Okay. This was a family time. And Justin Herbert, newly engaged to Madison Beer, where Madison was stroking Justin's beautiful wavy hair at Chargers training camp. And this became a big deal. There were people that were like, oh, that's so great. They're so in love. And then mostly everybody else was like, what the heck is going on? Aren't they supposed to be practicing? They didn't understand. I think it's jealousy. That's my thought. I think there's nothing wrong with that. They're in their own little world. They're going to get married. They're so happy. I've never seen Justin Herbert so happy. I'm all for that happiness. And maybe that's the kickstart he's going to need. And that will translate on the field too, because his offensive line has been so awful over the years. People are like, what has Justin Herbert done? Everyone pumps him up. He's elite, but he hasn't done anything. All right. Yeah, I agree. He hasn't done anything, but give him a break. I mean, I don't think he's had, an offensive line to help him, but but most important, what do you think about that scene with Madison Beer? And do you know who Madison Beer is?
I unfortunately do, because I'm on TikTok too much. So, that's, I am aware of who she is. I think, again, you can look at it two ways. You can be like, oh, this is very strange. And why are you doing it after practice in front of everyone? But I think that just shows you how comfortable they are with each other, and that, they really don't care. I'd much rather this be the biggest issue Justin Herbert has in the media, when it seems like other quarterbacks in the league have definitely taken it a lot farther with the law. So if him being in love is the biggest thing wrong with him right now, so be it. I'm a big Herbert fan like you. So, it always seems like he's always been cool, calm, and collected. Yep. It's awesome to see him happy. And I think if anything, it's going to help motivate him. So yeah.
Let me bring in Dominic. Dom, come on in here. Join this conversation. Listen, when you saw Dom, hello, Dom. Hey. When you saw that video of Justin Herbert and Madison Beer, what was the first thing that came into your mind?
I was like, oh boy, I don't know if that's the best kind of foot forward you got to do when you got to win some playoff games and people have high expectations of you. And like, how distracted are you? Obviously you're engaged or you're married, whatever. You're in a relationship. That's okay, engaged. So it's like, yeah, you're going to have that. But I've grown to learn over the years that, perception is just what people feel. And if you're doing it and you're confident in your abilities and it's not going to be a distraction with you, I got no problem with it. It's fine. Whatever. I mean, hey, maybe it'll help him out. Who knows? He's rejuvenated and in love. He might not care anymore. Like, and just sling it and see how it goes, So
right.
Could be a positive thing for him.
Takes the pressure off him. And I'll ask you, Dom, the same question I asked Dan. Did you know before you saw this video who Madison Beer was?
Zero. I knew who I heard of. That was his girlfriend. I did hear that before, but I did not know who she was. Like, I don't know anything about her. So
right.
In that regard, I didn't.
Right. Okay. I thought. But apparently she's a pop singer, and I don't know of any song that she's ever sing. And Dan, you know me, I love the music, and Dom, you have knowing me now, like especially pop music. I know everyone in every genre, but But apparently Dan looked it up and found some a juicy tidbit of how Madison Beer got famous. And actually, she was Justin Bieber discovered her when she was 13, and had a video of her singing, and it went viral. But I don't even know what hit song. She hasn't had a hit, nothing. So, but she's beautiful. I'm happy Justin is happy, and I had no problem with their scene at Chargers training camp.
I have a question real quick for you too, Dan. Is you did mention Josh Allen, and he's the now or never guy, and you mentioned his legs. Somebody that I immediately comes to my mind when I think about that too is Lamar Jackson. Like pressure's kind of on. I know he's got a new coach coming in and the whole new regime kind of going in like that. But how would you compare him in comparison to Allen and when it's now or never?
Right. I think the difference between the both of them, one of them's a 3-time first-team All-Pro. One of them is a 0-time first-team All-Pro. I think what's the stat? I think Josh Allen's the first quarterback to win MVP without being first-team All-Pro. I think it was in 30 years. It was something crazy, 30, 40 years. And of course we make an exception for him. Lamar has to prove himself in the playoffs. I think obviously there were other factors, just like what happened with Josh Allen in the playoffs. Not last year, that was Josh Allen's fault. But Lamar Jackson, with the Andrews thing, and there were just other drops.
Zay Flowers drops.
Yeah,
remember,
exactly. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. Again, Lamar and Josh Allen, their teammates haven't fully helped them when it comes to the playoffs. But it's what have you done for me lately? Last time Lamar was in the playoffs, wasn't his fault. Everyone will let you know. Last time Josh Allen was in the playoffs, it was his fault. And again, he's a 3-time first-team All-Pro. The other one, he's not, and he was one of the worst MVP winners of all time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Go ahead, Linda. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if Lamar can pull this off and get to a Super Bowl without John Harbaugh, they kept giving now the Giants head coach. I've always said, and I said it when I did radio, that I thought John Harbaugh overcoached in the postseason. And it really led to the demise of Lamar Jackson having good postseason performances. It was just so many different decision-making. And so wouldn't it be something with this new coach? And he just kind of rips up the postseason and just starts over and just goes with it. I'm really glad you brought that up, Dom, because that's one thing I'm most intrigued about the season ahead for Lamar Jackson. What were you going to say?
No, what I was going to, a lot of people are, media pundits and whatever, they're saying that Josh Allen, he's got, I could see him winning multiple Super Bowls. And that's been said too about Lamar and a lot of the Joe Burrow and stuff like that. What people, it just blows my mind that people don't factor in. Have you not seen the career of Dan Marino? He got to the Super Bowl once and then he never came back. It never happened again for him. It could very easily happen to any of these top tier quarterbacks, these elite quarterbacks that we see. And, I would bet at least one of them will not see a Super Bowl. At least one, I think, out of everybody.
To your point, Aaron Rodgers, he never went back. And I remember I told my mom, and she can attest, I didn't think he was going to make it back to one. But again, Aaron Rodgers, when he won his first Super Bowl, it's a lot different of a quarterback than when I view Aaron Rodgers now. He's 1A, 1B of the two most talented quarterbacks to ever touch the field. It's him and Mahomes. And you can make a case Rodgers is the best of all time. And I say that as a Patriots fan. Just with what he's done, his accuracy, his attention to detail. I always think the funniest thing was when the Giants got a rare interception on Aaron Rodgers. I think it was just his 5th of the year when he already had 45 touchdowns. It was Chase Blackburn. Chase Blackburn got the interception because he was in the wrong position of the field. Aaron Rodgers read the coverage. Chase Blackburn was supposed to be somewhere else, and Chase Blackburn forgot what he was doing. And Aaron Rodgers expected him to be somewhere else, and Chase Blackburn was in the wrong position, and he just had the ball go in his hand. So there's no one, as far as taking care of the football, and there's no one better than him.
I'm rooting for him big time this year to shock
Big
the world. For sure. All right, Dan, I don't know if you shocked the world in your debut on the Linda Cohn Show, but you did damn well for Dando. Love it. I still will continue to call you Dan Man privately, but for Dando might stick here on this show. They must react. There it is. The people will chime in let me know in the chat box, all of it, because I think they could be brothers, cousins in the same family. We'll see how it goes. So, Dan, always great. Great info. Love your takes. You know what? This is stuff we would have said on the phone or texting, and now we just said it on the show on this platform. So it's going to be really exciting. So and you know, it all begins with a Hall of Fame game this weekend. So it's going to be fantastic to have you as a part of this show every week.
Sounds great. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
And there he is, Dan Man. For Dando, does look like Mendoza for sure. Yeah, let's bring in Dom. Take some questions. The Ask Linda segment. Yeah.
What a great dude Dan is, by the way.
Very chill. I told you.
Very chill.
It's just chill, but it's exactly like what a normal phone conversation, what we have. You know, we just shoot our comments back and forth. But as a mom, you know, I probably agree with him a little too much just because I'm his mom. But if someone else would have said some of the things he said, I probably would disagree with it more.
What's a take that you do? Like, you're like, Dan, you're completely wrong on this.
Well, I just think he's hard on Josh Allen.
Yeah, I do too.
I can't help it. I mean, you know, I know that Josh Allen's 31 years old and the clock is ticking. But I just think someday soon, hopefully he gets to a Super Bowl, and the one he gets to, he wins it. Not only for him, not only for his family, but for all of those frustrated, diehard Buffalo Bills fans. So
My
we root
goodness.
for
If
them.
you lived in the early 90s with Jim Kelly and those 4 Super Bowls that he did not win.
Well, I wasn't crying. I really wasn't crying then because, of course, my Giants beat them. One of those.
For
Scott
sure. Right,
Norwood,
yeah.
Right. So I don't care. I didn't care then, but, you know, now I care. It's been a long time. So anyway, yeah. What do you got?
All right, let's take a look. We got a few questions here. Jim in Coachella, thanks for chiming in. Good afternoon, Linda. Which NFL team, in your opinion, will be the biggest surprise of this season?
Yeah, it's interesting because we had a bunch of teams that did not make the playoffs last year, but the names that I'll throw out at you, we expect them to make the postseason this year, like starting with the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, they didn't make the playoffs last year, and they were playing pretty bad even before Patrick Mahomes got hurt, if you recall. So I don't know if they would be considered a surprise team, but they are one of these teams, along with the Cincinnati Bengals, who we're used to seeing in the postseason, that I think both of those teams won't surprise anybody, but I do maybe more so the Bengals than the Chiefs, because we just all expect, you know, an Andy Reid coach team. They're going to find a way and put the right formula together, and Travis Kelce back for another year, and Patrick Mahomes, so far so good in camp. You know, that they'll find a way to be back. But I think the Bengals could be considered a surprise team because nothing's given. You know, so I think the Bengals.
That's a good one. I could be a homer, and I will be a homer, even though it's not my team. I'll say the Steelers. We talked about how Aaron Rodgers has a chip on his shoulder. Kind of the handcuffs are off. He's a married man. He kind of doesn't care. He not that he didn't care in the first place, but like now that he's got he doesn't. This is last year, so all bets are off. I think the Steelers stand a chance. That AFC North division, it can look tough, but it can also not be that tough. There's a lot of times a lot of those teams in that division drop the ball. I mean, you got the Browns.
Yeah, you never know. But I've said that before. This is a different Aaron Rodgers. I've been saying that. I think they will. I think he will have a great year, and I think that will result in the Steelers making the postseason and look better doing it than they did last year, actually.
I agree. We're both rooting for Aaron Rodgers, so we're on that boat. So, all right. The GTV channel, GW TV channel,
Okay.
New Jersey in here. How do you think the New Jersey Giants will do this year? New York State has only one NFL football team, the Buffalo Bills. Wow. Wow.
Enough. They're the New York Giants. Sorry. I don't want to lose a subscriber, but I'm a longtime Giants fan. Got it from my dad. Glad I did. Sorry, Dom. I didn't go the way of the Jets, although most people who grew up on Long Island did. We won't get into your gangrene Jets situation, but I think the Giants are going to make the playoffs. I mean, I think they got it all together. Malik Neighbors is back. Hopefully, OBJ makes the team, saying all the right things in camp. I like the way the young people that the Giants drafted, and I think Cam Scatterbo, he's not going to do anything dumb, so he'll be healthy, hopefully. And then I have all the faith in Jackson Dart that he's not going to put himself in any danger. I think he's learned, and I think the coaching staff, they're the adults in the room now, and they're not going to let any of the fool, the crazy stuff, which we saw at times last season occur. And, everyone forgets how bad. I don't forget. Giant fans don't forget the leads that were blown, specifically that one against the Broncos. There was so many leads blown and so many things that just unraveled for the Giants. When there was any kind of adversity on the field, they just spiraled in a bad way and couldn't recover. And I don't think that will happen with John Harbaugh and his coaching staff. So I think the Giants will make the playoffs. Maybe it'll come down to the last week, but it'll happen.
Do you think they're going to be a wild card then? Because didn't you predict earlier? Was that you who predicted that the Cowboys are going to win the NFC?
Yeah, I predict the Cowboys are winning the division. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you think they'll be a wild card then?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Right. Oh yeah.
You never know. Could Jackson Dart could have a pretty good sophomore year. We'll see. Another NFC team gets asked about. We've talked about them before on the show. The 49ers, Triple E. He asks, who do you think would be a better coach than Kyle Shanahan? Do you think there is a better coach than Kyle Shanahan for the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, the media pundits out there have already called Kyle Shanahan like the next Bill Belichick. I'm not going there. I always remember when he was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons and did not run the ball against the Patriots, costing them a Super Bowl. And yet he's had opportunities in the postseason with the 49ers. He has helped make Brock Purdy a starting quarterback. Let's give him a lot of credit. And unfortunately, he's coming back from that serious accident. The Niners right now have plenty of injuries, a laundry list of injuries in training camp. A lot of things going on there, a lot of distractions. But there's really no one better right now. What are you going to do? Get rid of Kyle Shanahan? Why would you do that? He's so smart when it comes to coaching. They compare him to Belichick because he's the type of guy that, goes to the facility and sleeps there. That kind of guy, and there's nothing more that he wants is a Super Bowl championship for the San Francisco 49ers. So don't bail on him quite yet.
I'm with you. I mean, look at all the injuries that they had last year and they were still scrappy enough to survive and be a good team. So I don't think you could upgrade at this point if you look at the coaching market outside of that. So yeah, I'd stick with Kyle Shanahan. That division's super tough. Mike McDonald, Seahawks. You got the Rams.
The Rams. The Rams are everyone's pick to win a Super Bowl, and I believe I'll tell you, I believe Aaron Donald is coming back. There's no proof of it yet. It's going to be amazing to have Aaron Donald back on that team. It would just take any. I don't know what's stopping that team if he comes back, and as long as they don't read their press clippings, so to speak. And they just focus on football, and they're so well coached with Sean McVay. I don't see anyone taking that division away from them.
Shout out to them Pitt Panthers, by the way, Aaron Donald. I'll let you go with this, Linda. I just saw this on X, and I had to ask you about this. The John Madden movie coming out with Nicolas Cage and Christian Bale. Apparently, it's not getting a theatrical release. It's going straight to Amazon Prime. What are your expectations for that movie? Or were you intrigued when you first saw it?
Well, what intrigued me was the amazing Nicolas Cage gaining about 100 pounds or so, maybe more so, to play the role of John Madden. Anyone who hasn't seen that picture yet, they really should. I'll be checking that out. And again, we live in a streaming world. I'm not shocked. It's not a type of movie. The only movie that starts in theaters basically, or like movies like the Odyssey, movies of high action type thrillers, things like that. So I'm not surprised that a sports movie, basically a documentary on the amazing John Madden and his life, is starting on Amazon Prime. So yeah, of course I'll check it out. And Christian Bale, what an amazing actor he is as well.
He's gonna be Al Davis. I'm pumped for that. Did you ever run into John Madden? Did you ever cross paths with him?
No, I haven't. No, I never did. Never
Yeah.
entered ESPN headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut when I was there. When did he pass away, though? I think he passed away before I got to
That might, yeah, that's a good
ESPN.
question.
So sadly, he
Yeah,
passed away
no,
too young.
it wasn't before you got to ESPN. Well, you
Okay.
were, yeah, no, he was definitely around for like, I think he passed away like maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
Something to that effect.
I don't know. I think it was more
Ooh.
than that, Tom. But yeah. All right.
All right. Well, cool.
I know the show started crazily. I know I threw out some really big topics that maybe you haven't heard, or, you know, people have their own opinions. I always like sharing both sides and letting you decide what you feel and what your take is, because I'm just putting it out there to let you make a decision. I'm getting the information. I'm giving you the clarity. I'm not jumping a gun. I'm just throwing out opinions, people. And either you like it or you don't. But I always say, remember, expect the unexpected. I'm just going to put the material in front of you. If you haven't seen it already, you might already have made up your mind, and that might alter your conclusions of what you've already decided that they would be. But all I ask is if you hear me out. And I really want to say thank you for tuning in. No show is perfect. No show is a Picasso, but I always aim high. But for me, it sure came damn close because my son Dan made his debut on the Linda Cohn Show. So thanks for watching, everyone. We'll talk again on Monday. And thanks for subscribing. Appreciate you. Keep it going.